Welcome to the promotion playbook for smart women in male-dominated industries. My name is Jamie Lee. I'm letting people into the room. Feel free to, you know, show your beautiful faces. I intentionally kept this meeting to be small and intimate so that we could have real conversations. And you could ask me questions. You could, raise your hand for live coaching. I do want to talk a little bit about some key principles that I have seen recur again and again in my 10 plus years of helping smart women who don't like office politics get promoted, get better paid. I have been teaching self-advocacy and negotiation skills, particularly, specifically towards women professionals for, oh boy, since like 2011. So it's been a long time. And I work predominantly with women who work in male-dominated industries, tech, finance, engineering. I've had some clients in medicine, life sciences. I mean, when you think about most high-paying industries, they tend to be male-dominated, right? AI startups. And in my work, I've noticed that regardless of what my client's chosen field or specialty is, they all experience barriers. There are external barriers, of course, sexism, racism, right? Bias. I mean, all this stuff is very much real. But there's also often internal barriers, obstacles that we often don't even realize that we are encountering until you have a conversation with a neutral third party, sometimes like myself, and I start pointing them out, like, oh, did you notice this? Did you notice that? They're like, no. Oh, now some things are starting to make sense. So I want to share with you some of those very common internal, often like our blind spots that can hold us back from confidently advocating for what we want and securing the promotion and the pay increases. Okay. And then I want to tell you uh, about three key actions that every single client who has successfully gotten promoted and better paid, I noticed this, the three key actions, they're always doing this, even if they are the only woman in a male-dominated field, or they're the only woman executive in a near male executive suite, right? My wish for today is that, it'll provide some insights for you, unlock uh, some new perspectives, right? And here's another thing I want to share. It's never like this one specific thing that works for every single person, right? Because every single person is inside a very unique ecosystem, a very unique environment, and every single person is experiencing her career through her very unique set of perspectives and beliefs, right? So that's why in my coaching practice, I like to take the bespoke approach and I work individually one-on-one with my clients because not, you know, what am I trying to say? There are overarching themes that recur in every single client who does achieve her career advancement goals, but it's never like this one specific thing, you know? So it sounds a little paradoxical, but it's like, how do we approach our career advancement with a broad perspective, with wisdom, but not getting like locked into, oh, I must do this thing, right? Because when we think, I must do this thing, or you said lots of criteria or conditions for how you can experience, you can achieve your career growth, then what most often happens is that whatever conditions or criteria you set for yourself, you notice how often those criteria and conditions are not being met. And so even if like 90 or 95% of the time your life is going well, you're achieving, things are going well, you have a job, your needs are met. But if there's 5% that's not being met, you're like, this is not good, right? And I know I have a tendency to fixate on those things because I'm, just like my best clients. And I'm kind of rambling here, but the point I'm trying to make is how do we approach our career growth, our career advancement with both flexibility, adaptability, but also thinking about these key themes that you want to address so that you can overcome whatever external obstacles you do encounter. Okay. Great to see you, Karen. And Robin, I don't know if you intended, but I just see a gray background. And I invite everyone here to turn on your camera. I intentionally designed this to be like a safe space for us to meet, to converse, to do live coaching. Um, I'd love to see how you look like. All right. No pressure, no pressure. So let me share my slides with you. Let me pull it up and then I'm going to share my slides and then, oops, I didn't mean to do that. Hello, Kariko. And by the way, I'm curious, where are y'all joining me from? I'm in Newark, New Jersey. I used to live in New York City. I lived in Manhattan for 15 years. I lived in New York City for 20 years. I just moved across the river to Newark, and I learned it's pronounced Nork, like Nork, and it's great. I can see Manhattan. It's really close. My rent is a lot cheaper. It's amazing. I love it. So I'd love for y'all to share where you are joining from. Like Deborah, Janine, Juliana, Karen, Kuriko, Lauren, Marisa. Let me know where you're. Phoenix, Vancouver, Washington. Oh, wow. So it's like early, it's like morning for you. It's 10 a.m. Maplewood, New Jersey. All right, New Jersey in the room. Okay, another New Jersey person, Florham Park, New Jersey. Nice, nice. And okay, wow. I made a mistake on my slide, but that's okay. All right. So I trust that you can see my slide. This I know to be fact that millions of women just in the United States, and I have clients abroad. I have clients in Europe and Africa, and sometimes I work with people in Asia. So, you know, tens, if not hundreds of millions of women globally. We do know we have a tendency to under advocate for ourselves. We have a tendency to under communicate our wants and our wins. And I know that around the world, women, girls and women, we're taught to do that. It's not like there's something wrong with us. We're just operating the way we've been conditioned, right? And we have a tendency to overcommit. And I know that to be true for a lot of people who are in my audience, people who tend to gravitate toward this work, who think about getting promoted and better paid. We have a tendency to overcommit. We have a tendency to overfunction. We like to go, 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 get shit done, but while being under-recognized and under-promoted. According to this one study that was mentioned in Indeed, only 43%, only 4 out of every 10 women feel that they advocate for themselves enough. So that means the vast majority, about 60% of women feel like we don't advocate for ourselves enough. We don't talk about what we're doing well. We don't talk about what we really want for ourselves because we don't want to seem greedy. We don't want to seem pushy. We want to be light. We feel like we haven't earned it yet. Yes, I have been there, done that, all of that myself. And why? Why is that? In my work as an executive coach and negotiation trainer for professional women, for 10 plus years, I have noticed that these are the most common pitfalls that we tend to fall into. So there's a lot here. So let me walk you through one by one. So the first one is tiara syndrome. Tiara syndrome is what I also like to call the 90s Disney fairy tale myth. It's like if you keep your head down, if you just stay good, right? But also in the Disney fairy tales, you also have to be beautiful and thin and almost always white, right? That's in the Disney fairy tale, 90s. If you keep your head down and do good work, then you'll be rewarded, right? So you don't think, oh, I should speak up. I should go to bat. I should be my own champion, right? In those fairy tales, the champions are the knight in shining armor or some dude, right? So tiara syndrome is something that negotiation scholar Carol Frolinger termed, and it's the tendency for some people, not just women, to assume that if they keep their head down and do good work, that a tiara will magically fall on their head and they'll be rewarded with the recognition and the money and the praise and resources that they really want. In other words, it's a fantasy, it's a syndrome, right? So when you're captivated by this fantasy, this tiara syndrome, of course you avoid speaking up because good 90s Disney princesses don't do that. They just stay good and quiet, right? And there's also moving down this 3A trap triangle, there is the comfort fallacy. This is kind of an extension of that Disney fairy tale. I need to keep people around me happy and comfortable. I'm thinking about Beauty and the Beast, and the beauty, she makes the little critters and the birds and the squirrels. She makes everyone else happy and comfortable, right? She makes the beast comfortable. She makes her father comfortable. But her own comfort? No, she'd rather be locked up in a dungeon castle, right? I need to keep people around me happy and comfortable. That's how I stay safe. If people around me, and I'm always scanning, right? Scanning to look at the micro expressions of people around me to ensure they're okay before I feel safe enough to say something. And I know that's something that I have experienced because this is sort of like a symptom of my people-pleasing tendencies. And I also know people of color, women of color, people of marginalized identities. We have a tendency to do this too, always scanning to make sure that other people are okay with us, right? That they don't see us as a threat, right? But when we're doing that, then we of course fall into the tendency of appeasing other people, saying yes when we really want to say no, not setting boundaries, right? Because that you can't keep other people happy and comfortable all the time if you set some boundaries, say no, ask for what you want. Perfectionist fantasy. We're going to the other side of this triangle. I kind of mentioned at the beginning of this, I was talking about like sometimes we have a tendency, especially when we're driven and ambitious, like we like to do things well, we love to get shit done. We have a tendency to be like, I gotta get to this, I gotta get this, I gotta get the straight A's, I gotta floss my teeth every night. I never have to feel an emotion that feels weird and awkward in my body. And I have to get all my reports done on time, right? All these criteria, like very specific, rigid criteria, is an extension, is a symptom of perfectionist fantasy. That if I don't do it perfect, if I don't get an A plus, right? That's my perfectionist fantasy right here because I'm looking at my slide. I'm like, there should have been a plus after that A. It's like if I'm not getting an A plus, then I'm not good. Like I have coached women who are high achieving, right? They're getting promoted, they're advancing in their career, and they set such high expectations for themselves that it's so hard, it's nearly impossible for them to try something new and different, right? Speaking up, asking for a promotion, asking for support, right? Because the thought is, if I mess up, then I'm a failure, then I'm no good, right? I coached a client who, again, she had a great track record and she was having trouble like taking new action, right? Initiating conversations, um, building relationship, like all these things that do help you get promoted. And I asked her, what if you just set a standard? So like you could do B minus work. It doesn't have to be perfect, right? B minus work, because your B minus work is most likely other people's A level work. And she said, no, I can't do B minus work. B plus maybe. B plus maybe, but I can't do B minus work, right? But the thing about perfectionist fantasy is that, you know, this is really common, especially if like you know that you can do more than other people, so you have a tendency to set even higher standards for yourself. And when things get hard, I literally just coached another client on this. When things get a little bit hard and it gets harder to get or to maintain that high level of productivity or quality, then you end up attacking yourself. You start beating yourself up. You start hearing the voice of your inner itty bitty shitty committee really loud and persistently. And this is very common because, again, this is a function of social conditioning, gender, uh, socialization, right? So then how do we get out of this? How do we get out of the 3A trap? How do we stop avoiding conversations? How do we stop appeasing and saying yes all the time? How do we stop beating ourselves up, right? When we are actually doing more than the regular Chad. How do we do that? So here are my suggestions. Just notice first line from myth to action. First line, right? Let's notice that everything on this slide, tiara syndrome, perfectionist fantasy, comfort fallacy, they are myths. They're fantasies. They're lies, right? They're very compelling lies of our society that have been uh, conditioned into us so that other people can benefit, right? So it's like, let's just see it for what it is. We've been taught myths, right? And it may have benefited when our parents, when we were really, really young, and our parents just wanted us to stay in line and not get hurt. Yes, but now as high-performing professionals, we have to recognize, okay, some of this stuff we can unlearn. And tiara syndrome, to unlearn tiara syndrome, I want to suggest this antidote. When you advocate for yourself, and when you advocate for yourself well, right? When you advocate for yourself with preparation, with the intention of like, here's how things can improve, not just for me, but for you and me, self-advocacy becomes an act of service. It is the very opposite of selfish and greedy. Comfort fallacy. I want you to consider if taking action for your promotion, for your career advancement feels awkward, you're doing it right. You're going against the grain. You're going against a millennia of gender socialization where women were considered, at one point we were considered property, not even human, right? So if it feels awkward, like for you to go against the grain, you're doing it right. Perfectionist fantasy. Learning from one messy conversation is 100%. Maybe I should add an extra zero there, like 1,000% better than no conversation, no learning, right? Because I know everyone here who joined this live and who are watching the replay, you're here because you enjoy learning, you enjoy growing yourself, right? And we do know from neuroscience that the brain remains plastic all throughout our lives. Even if you are 59, even if you're 69, right? Your brain doesn't stop, creating new neural connections. Brain remains plastic throughout our lives. So we're here to enjoy that process of learning. And when you think about, putting yourself out there, advocating for what you want, it's just another extension. It's just another way for you to learn and grow. We can drop that perfectionist fantasy because we learn the best from not doing it perfect and then learning from those mistakes. So here are the 3 key actions that every single one of them, I've been like, I sat down and I made myself like think about what are the common themes that every single one of my clients who get promoted, yes, even in this economy, even with everything going on in this world, like what are the three key actions they do? What they do is that they recognize and they act on the truth that moving yourself forward in your career is an act of agency, right? Advocating for yourself is an act of service, but is also an act of agency. Okay. And so as you can see, there are three ways to vote. Vote with your feet, vote with your tribe, and vote for yourself. People who continue to grow their careers, even if they're the only woman in the, room full of men, or, the only minority, or, what have you. Even if you're like encountering difficult bosses, like this is what they all do. Number one, you vote with your feet, right? You choose the workplaces where growth, values, and your strengths align, right? You're thinking about, okay, is this a place where I can feel that I can grow? And you invest your time, energy, and ideas where they'll have impact. So you vote with your feet. If you do not feel like you are in a place where you can continue to grow yourself and your career, you vote with your feet. Go get another job. And if you don't vote with your feet, the decisions will be made for you. Know that. And you vote with your tribe. I cannot understate the importance of this key principle. You want to build allies. You want to build champions. Champions are people who tend to have a little bit more authority, a higher position than you. They don't necessarily have to be your direct boss. They could be your skip level boss, or it could be somebody who is more experienced within your organization, who is willing to quote unquote go to bat for you, right? Because when the decision comes to promote somebody, right? It's always a group decision. And it's somebody who is willing to be like, yeah, I'm the, high-ranking member of this executive level team. I'm either the board member or I'm a senior vice president or C-level executive. And I think so-and-so, they're doing great work and we should put them up for promotion. Somebody who will go to bat for you. And they will advocate for your promotion and open doors to new opportunities. So if you can cultivate, if you have that relationship, amazing. We build on that. But if you don't yet have that, then we strategize on how to create, how to cultivate allies and champions. So I had a client who was the only woman at an all-male software engineering team at a big tech company. And so, she was voting with her feet. She's like, I like software engineering. I used to have a completely different career, but I went to boot camp. I'm a single mother. I know I can grow myself. I know like the career opportunities, the salary growth opportunities. This is where my, growth values and my strengths align. I like software engineering. I know I have a technical mind, but she didn't yet really have a tribe of other male allies, other male team members who could be like, yeah, this person in our team, she knows her stuff. She's really good with her technical knowledge. So we created a strategy for her to directly ask her male colleagues to mention her in the Slack team chat, whether Teams or in the team, like literal team meetings. And then she also, the third thing, she voted for herself. She trusted herself. She backed her own decisions. She treated herself kindness. She replaced her itty bitty shitty committee. She replaced her self-doubt with an ounce more self-belief. Like it doesn't have to be perfect, right? We're dismantling perfectionism. It's an ounce more self-belief. And when she voted for herself, this is really interesting happened. She was advocating, she put herself up for promotion. They had a very formalized process at this tech company. And she submitted her documentation to her boss. And then her boss is like, yeah, maybe next time, because I don't really feel that you are technical enough for the next level. And so this is where voting with her feet, voting with the tribe, and then finally voting for herself really kicked in because she really had to trust herself. She had to like think about what is the objective evidence? What does the objective data say about my technical aptitude? And let me compare that to the assessment, the subjective opinion of my manager. And then she decided to back her own decision. She decided not to back down from the promotion track. She, in fact, engaged her manager in a empathic confrontation. I have multiple podcasts about exactly how she did that. She explains her process, and I ex also explain empathic confrontation on my podcast. Yeah, I'll put the podcast link on my in the chat. And so what she did was she's like, that's really interesting you say that because is it possible that you may have been biased in your assessment of whether I am truly technical enough? And she presented her data, right? Factual information about her technical contributions. And then the manager said, you know what? You're right. I'm sorry. I think I was biased because now you presented this data and you brought this up in this very non-conf it wasn't like combative. It was empathic, but she still like said the difficult thing of like, please, reconsider your assessment. And so her promotion got fast-tracked and she improved her overall compensation by 40%. Other clients who vote with their feet, vote with their tribe, vote for herself, vote for yourself. I have another client who recently got promoted, also in a different kind of tech field, but she had quit her job at this organization because she felt burnt out. But then she came back because she was recruited and she also thought, you know what, I can really grow here. If I have new skills and new strategies to manage my energy level, I can really grow. And I am the breadwinner of my family. I want to get promoted. So she voted with her feet. She came back and she voted with her tribe, somebody who was already familiar with the level, the quality of her work. Her direct manager, in fact, actually endorsed her promotion even before she thought she was ready. Right? And so for this particular client, voting for herself meant trusting herself to be able to do the job, to do the, higher level position, manage more people, manage a bigger scope of responsibilities, and present to the executive level team. Voting for herself meant dismantling her perfectionism and trusting herself to do the job. Okay, let me give you one more example, and then I'm going to open the conversation up for live coaching and Q&A. I have another client who, not an employee, she actually is a public speaking coach, right? And she works with, high-level executives, big company, and she was initially, when she first engaged me, she was working with an agency, but this agency sort of managed her and as if they were her employer, as if this agency, the person who founded the agency, was somebody who was considered a mentor, right? Somebody, lots of, uh, how should I, like a lot of experience. But for my client, she has, been in her field for decades herself, and she also grew her capacity, her authority in her field. And so she just felt that the arrangement with this particular agency was no longer really serving her because they were taking about 40% of her revenue, right? The cut was really big. And she wanted to negotiate for a bigger commission, a bigger share of her revenue, her revenue that she brought in and secured as a consultant. And I suggested that she vote with her feet. I suggested, you know what? Based on everything that I'm hearing, it doesn't seem like this agency is going to honor you, your strengths, or offer more growth to you. right? I don't know if investing more of your time, energy, and ideas to this agency is actually going to generate the kind of results that you want to have in the long term of your career as an as a consultant and as an expert in your field. Because vote with your tribe. You already have a tribe of people of dedicated of people clients who are really dedicated and in love with working with this particular client, right? So I said, you already have your tribe. You can vote with your feet. You can take your tribe with you. And so for her, it was about really learning to vote for herself and trusting that she can do this new thing, right? Which is creating her own company, being the CEO of her own agency and earning 100, not 60, right? 100% of the revenue that she brings in, right? And so she did. And you know the biggest part of all this was just the uh yes, there was some heated conversations, some difficult conversations that she had to have both with herself and with the agency that she left. But ultimately, it was about seeing herself in a new light, in a new way, as somebody who is capable of having her own agency, being the CEO of her career. So again, vote with your feet, vote with your tribe, vote for yourself. So these are the three key actions. So I want to open this up for Q&A, for live coaching. If you want to, you know, ask me any questions live, I'm going to open the room up for that. And I am going to I'm going to probably bring back every conversation to like, let's think about one of these key actions or a combination of these actions that needs to happen, right? And also, at the end, if you found this conversation, this session to be useful, all I ask is that you leave a 5-star Google review. And this is the link. I'll send it to you directly after this session as well with the replay. This helps other people find the work that I do. And I have like hundreds of articles for free on my website and also on LinkedIn. So it just helps other people, other women find the work I do. So I really appreciate that. But for now, I'm going to stop share. And if anyone has questions about what I just shared, if you want to get coaching, you can unmute yourself or you can put your hand up. If you go to the bottom of your Zoom interface, you can click on the react button and there's a raise hand button. And you click on the little heart, you can do that. Hi,
Hi,
Karen.
Jamie. I've been following you for a while. The first webinar of yours that I attended was one that you did for the Seven Sisters Alumni Association. And so I enjoy your podcast and your articles. Thank you so much for your advice. I don't have a specific question, but I did want to share that through your writings and all the great advice that you give for free, aside from your one-on-one coaching, you talked about how women are generally socialized not to brag, right?
Yeah.
Not to that we're taught like, oh, don't be boastful, don't brag, and you turned that around and talked about that we should think about it as informing. We're
Right.
informing our audience about what our accomplishments are, what our experience is. And 2 years ago, I was under consideration for an opportunity, and there were a couple of decision makers involved. And one of them was like, Karen, we're hiring you. And I was like, okay, great. And I was really excited. It was a man that I had worked for before and actually was working for in a different capacity for a number of years. And we had a meeting with two other people, one of which was one of the key decision makers. And this gentleman had shared with me that this other decision maker was not completely on board. He's like, oh, I've heard good things about Karen, but, want to kind of see who else is out there. And during that meeting, I kept your advice in mind and shared my experience, shared that this other gentleman who was a key decision maker had hired me previously. I shared my qualifications, I shared my experience, and ultimately was indeed hired for the job. And just, I think it's such a huge issue for women because of the way we've been socialized, because we've been taught not to be boastful and to fit ourselves to what society tells us we're supposed to be. Don't be too loud, don't be too flashy, don't be too anything. There's a whole list of things that I'm sure we could come up with. But your advice helped me get that role. And so I wanted to share that. And that was part of what made me excited to come back today to listen to you again.
Karen, thank you so much for sharing that. I'm so glad that you spoke up for yourself. You advocated for yourself. And again, you proved to yourself that it's not like being boastful. You're like, here are the facts.
Yeah, it's really about reframing it, right? It's
Yeah.
about it's not boastful. It's reframing it in the sense of, this is what you need to know about me to recognize that I am the right candidate for this role.
Right.
There was also so I've been in this role for 2 years now. I'm very happy there. But it's only been 50% of my work, and I really wanted to build on it and grow it. And I have this other 50% of my work that I do, and it's fine, but it's not it's not what makes me excited to work each day. And so just last week, I met with this gentleman who is the key decision maker. And I had previously sent him an email saying, I've been doing this work and I'm very happy with it and I want to continue it, but there's an opportunity to build on it. And there are things that I could do to grow this role and spend hopefully all, if not most of my time. But yes, ultimately, I would need to give up this other work that I do. And so while we haven't negotiated compensation, he agreed to it in principle. He's not thrilled that I'm leaving the other responsibilities behind, but I assured him that those can be transferred to somebody else. But again, it was about reframing it, and it was about listening to some of your advice both today as well as other things that you've offered, that I've read and listened to about reframing it. I realized that I need, as much as this is something that I wanted, I needed to frame it for him in a way that helps him understand why this is good for him, why
Yes.
this is something beneficial, and why me leaving those other responsibilities behind would not be detrimental to him. Somebody else can take those responsibilities.
Yeah.
I started doing those responsibilities 5 years ago.
Yeah.
They were transferred to me. They can be transferred to somebody else. And here's the benefit to the work that I want to continue to do and build on. And so we still have to talk compensation, and I will be thinking about your advice when I get into that negotiation. But I think for so many women, reframing the way we present
Mhm.
ourselves, the way we present what we want, the way we present like ourselves is key to getting what we want.
Yes. Everyone in this room, could we just take a moment to celebrate Karen? Yes,
Thank
yes.
you.
Put it in the chat or yes, I see some emojis. Yes.
Yes. Well,
Amazing.
Jamie, your sage advice is a big part of me overcoming
Yeah.
everything that I've been taught in my 50 plus years about not being too much of anything and really going out there for what I want and finding the right way to present it so that I can get it. So thank you. Thank
I
you. Thank
love
you.
that. I love that. And I love that you didn't pay me a single dollar.
No, I haven't, but you're so generous. I mean, between what you post on LinkedIn and your podcast and whatnot, I mean, I feel like I have learned so much from you about advocating for myself. And
Yeah.
so Thank you, thank you, thank you. And because I'm so close, I would be delighted to take you out to lunch. I'm in Newark usually about once a week. So let's plan to get together for lunch.
All
My
right,
treat.
let's do it. Let's do it. All right. Thank you so much, Karen. I receive all of this deeply and we celebrate you.
Thank you.
All right, Kariko.
Hi there.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Kriko Wong and I am in Houston. And I recently just found you, Jamie, and I loved the message that you were sending. And so the reason why I found you, Jamie, is because I'm interested in becoming a coach myself. Um, Different kind of coach, but like a life coach. And when I thought about doing that, like you as a coach get to decide how much you charge people.
Mhm.
And it's like a wild, like open wide field. So I wanted to see if you had any advice on like how to think about that when it's like such an open wide field, and like how do you put a price on yourself?
You're not putting a price on yourself. Yourself
Mm,
is priceless. You, who you are, can never be priced. You're not pricing yourself, you're pricing the value of your services. Well, it's not even like actually the value of my service is like I give a lot of my advice for free. You know, I hold these free sessions for people to ask me questions like this or get even, coaching. I share a lot of my case studies, for free. You could read them all on my website or on LinkedIn, right? But ultimately, the value of like here's how I've been taught to think about it, like the value of your like presence, just like being able to connect with one person and that one person, they're just going to set aside all of their agenda, their shit, their to-do list, and they're just going to listen to you and talk to you about what you want to achieve in your future, right? That stuff is very, very valuable, right? So like the price that I put on my coaching hours, my coaching services is just um, I know it's just the fraction of the total value of the work I do, right?
mm,
First, like establishing it, like me just being present with somebody, and I'm just gonna put aside all my agenda. I'm just gonna listen to you. Like that's priceless. Everyone wants that. And not necessarily just with me, but like in general. You know what I mean, right? But I'm going to give you the practical, tactical answer that you might be looking for, aside from the philosophical stuff. When you're just starting out, right? If you have zero life coaching skills and you have zero life coaching clients, you start with free. You start, and I'm actually happy. I have a client right now who's a therapist and she wants to do the kind of work that I do. So I'm helping her launch her coaching, quote unquote, coaching side of her practice. And this is what I'm suggesting she does. You start with free sessions. And the reason for that is because coaching is an unregulated industry. The barrier to entry is zero. Anyone, Kuriko, Karen, Deborah, like anyone can call themselves a coach. Like there's no one holding you back from doing that, right? You don't have to ask for anyone's permissions. But what does that mean? It means that like a coach, like everywhere, right? A great coach, a coach that can actually help you generate results, like tangible results in your life and your career and your income, that is rare, right? But how do you go from being new to being a rare coach who's actually worth investing money with, right? Practice. You practice, you start by practicing for free. And there's a side benefit of this, which is that the more practice you do, the more tools you learn, more techniques you learn, and the more effective you become, you start generating confidence, you start building testimonials. You start having a bank of like real people saying, yes, working with Kuriko really changed my life. Now you can start charging money. I started out like close to 10 years ago with free sessions, and then I charged $50 a session. And then I worked with I was collaborating. I was very, very lucky. I got to vote with my tribe, right? We talked about vote with your feet. So I voted with my feet. I wanted to get into an industry where I could really leverage my strengths of being able to listen deeply and connect with people one-on-one. So coaching is my jam, right? Not tech companies. And I voted with my tribe. Like I had a group of mentors. I had two mentors who were helping me launch my practice. And they were charging $350 per hour. And they said, you should charge $350 per session hour as well. It took me about 10 years where both my confidence and my skills actually matched that price, but now I'm there. I also offer sliding scale rates. So, it's not just 350, but that's my long and the short of it. And ultimately, because coaching is a field, like you get to charge what you want as long as you're good at what you do. If you help people generate real results, and coaching is hard because you got to learn how to coach, you got to learn how to talk, you got to learn how to speak in front of people, you got to learn how to write. Right? So it's like it's a multifaceted profession, but if you can do those really well, not give up, not burn out, right? And you start generating real results for people, and then you can like I have a client right now who charges $1,000 per hour per session. She's my client, right? So the sky is the limit, but it does take effort, practice, time, focus, and work. And it does help if you have a tribe. Okay, somebody raised their hand and then they put the who was that? Was that Janine?
Hi, yes, it was.
Okay.
So I have a quick, I don't know if it's a quick question, and thank you also as well for all of your advice. I found you a few months ago when I was working a part-time job and I was working on the negotiation stuff. So I listened to a lot of your information. So thank you for that. And so my situation is I voted with my feet. And I ended up leaving resigning from my job at a large company in a creative space and areas that I thought I was like, that's where I was destined to be. I thought it was a perfect job, perfect role. But then within that role, I always had to, I felt like the goalpost was always moving. I was always having to advocate for myself. I was always having to like do all this stuff. So it just like made me exhausted with that space, the corporate space. And so I guess where I'm looking for right now is I need to start making money again. I took a career break for about a year. But now I'm a little gun shy about going back into the same thing. So I guess I was curious if you had any other resources or ways to think about how I go back into the workforce and just trying to move past some of the things that I had to deal with in the past in order to be successful again.
Don't go back to the same place.
Yeah.
Don't go back to the place where, okay. So tactically, practically, to be choosy, right? You're choosy.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you wouldn't be in this room,
Correct.
right? You're choosy. So we know that you're going to be choosy, but you could tell me if I'm wrong, but my gut says the problem isn't whether the opportunities are out there. The problem is that there's a part of you that is referencing the past. And this is totally normal. We all do it. A part of you says, if you go back, it's going to be the same.
Exactly.
Right. And so when the part of you says, when I go back, it's going to be the same, how do you feel?
it makes me really nervous.
When
And
you
it
feel,
makes me question
yes, if you
myself.
feel really nervous and when you question
Mhm.
yourself, what happens to your confidence?
It was very low when I left.
Yeah. And when you feel nervous and you question yourself, what do you notice you do because you feel very nervous and you question yourself?
I've been avoidant for about a year
Huh,
in this process. And, it's a career break, but it's also a healing break too.
right.
And changing the lifestyle pace. I used to be in New York and I moved out of New York and the whole city and just, yeah, all the things.
First of all, I want to celebrate the heck out of you for taking a break because so many people yearn and want to do it, but they like chicken out of it or, like they know they really need it, but you did something that was really courageous. Is very courageous. You're doing something very courageous, right?
Thank
But
you.
notice that we know for a fact that everything changes. Notice that you have changed, people have changed, workplaces have changed. Change is the only constant in this world. Would you agree?
Yes,
Yeah, yeah. And so while we notice that, your brain is telling you it's the fact that I'm thinking about going back to a paying job that has me feeling very nervous and questioning myself. Yes or no?
correct.
Right, right. And that's why I avoid. And that's right. But I want to offer you, like, what if you thinking about going back to working, right? Of course, it can't create this nervous feeling because we already established that change is the only constant. So even if you quote unquote go back, like you're going to be going to a different kind of place,
That's true. That's a good
right?
perspective.
But your brain conveniently overlooks that when it is entertaining the thought that it's gonna be the same when I quote unquote go back.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so as a result of that, you feel nervous, you question yourself, you avoid it, and you don't understand as a result that nothing is really the same.
Yeah.
Right? And there is no going back. You're not going back. You're going forward in your life. You're making new choices. You're making more selective, you're becoming more choosy.
Yeah, that's a good reframe.
Yeah.
I guess I'll go back to all your other reframe videos that Karen also found.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're not going back. That place doesn't exist. It only
Yeah.
exists in your mind, right? And so um resources I want to offer you is like what if you can think about how new and different, like, what if you intentionally brought your attention to how new and different your future employment is going to be? Because you have changed, you have new resources, and the workplace changed, and job, like, there's so much change happening. Change is the only constant.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
I think that's great. I think I was kind of in this stage of how do I need to take the first step forward. And now I'm just working on how to build up to that.
Yes, and the first step forward I want to suggest is think about what's new and different. What's new and different in my field? What's new and different about me? And I
Mm.
I want to suggest like I'm thinking about like two different brain related stuff. There's a Harvard academic um who studies the brain and it's all about creativity. It's all about like just asking yourself, what's new and different? Oh, she's the expert on mindfulness, Ellen Langer. And this is the key question. What's new and different, right? So I want to invite you to make that like your focus as you think about what's new and different and what's happening in my field, what's new and different about me, right? And I want to invite that to sort of be like the one tiny next stepping stone to whatever new journey you embark on.
That's great advice. Thank you.
Welcome. All right. Robin. Robin Beers.
Hello.
Hello.
I'll try to turn my camera on here. There we go. Oops, had it gone. Okay. Um, what would you say about how would you address ageism in the workplace? I know you were talking about self-advocacy, but there's a program where I work that is it's for people who are um, it's a commercial leadership program, and it's a 3-year program, and after that you travel all over the world doing things with this. And it's a great program, and I've really been wanting to apply for it, but it has a very specific requirement for the amount of years of experience, 6 to 9. And the only reason that I can think of for them to have that requirement is that would pretty much be people who just got out of college and were in their 20s, their late 20s to early 30s. So I feel like that's
Okay, well, let me ask you this. How many years of experience do you have?
13.
Okay. Do
Just
you
over
want
the
to
line.
apply?
Oh, I did. But I haven't had a chance to really, I don't know if I'll get called in for an interview or not, but I just looking at that policy, that's the only reason I could think of why you would have that specific requirement for you. What's going to happen between the 6th and the 9th year of your career that's going to make you that's going to disqualify you on any other part of the range?
Right. Like what happens in the 10th year or
Yeah. Oh no.
right. Like the 9.5 years and you're off a cliff or something. It's kind of
That's when you
strange.
go to the dark side. Yeah.
Right, right. Okay. So you did apply.
hmm
Okay. What would you like to have happen here?
I would love to at least get called in for an interview and not be disqualified on the basis of having, you know, a little bit more experience than they were looking for.
Mm-hmm. Um, I don't know if it is ageism.
Okay.
You could be right, but I don't know. Yeah.
Right.
And I love that you already took action on giving yourself a chance at it.
There was a deadline, so I had to jump if I was going to do it. So
Yeah. And yeah, six, I don't know what to say.
that's a really weird specific amount.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what I do know is that usually, when people put together these job descriptions or quote unquote criteria, right? It's usually just like, oh, that would be nice, right? And then they
Right.
sort of like think about, okay, how do we specify what would be nice, right? But then it's just an idea,
hmm
right?
Well, I had asked to head to the recruiter. I wasn't able to get an actual meeting with her, but I asked her when she said that. I replied, and could you just answer a couple of questions? What are you hard and fast on the 6 to 9 years of experience? Because I have a little bit more. And she said, yes, we are. And that was pretty much all I got from as an answer for that.
Okay. Then
So
my suggestion is just tell them you have 9 years of experience,
well,
right?
it's at the same company. I mean, they do have access to my personnel record.
Ah, okay. Then maybe don't lie.
Yeah. Not a good way to start.
Yeah. Yeah. I, you know what my gut says? Maybe they're not your tribe.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see.
And maybe you go and look for, people who are more open-minded.
I could find them if I could just get through that program. That would be a great career jump for me. I'm in a place in my career where I've worked myself into being like the subject matter expert, and now I can't get out of it. So I
Hmm.
felt like it was something big, like a program that just yanked me out of there to do something else to really get away from it.
Well, if you did the program, what would you have that you don't yet have?
Well, for one thing, I'd have that on my resume, and I would get to experience a whole bunch of a different side of the business that I don't really get to see right now.
Hmm.
So they rotate you through different sites globally, and you work in different plants, and you get to learn how to manage the big stuff. And that's it's still middle management, but it's still a lot more experience than I'm ever going to get where I'm at right now. It's a very singular focus where I work right now in that part of the department.
And because you got exposed to different areas of the business, what would you have?
I'd be more marketable. I'd have more job opportunities. I'd be able to apply for some of the jobs that ask for basically people with business degrees, even though you don't have a business degree. I mean, having that program under your belt would be probably just as good, I think. And there's, more earning opportunities, more travel opportunities, more opportunities to move and maybe live overseas.
Okay. And so if you had the opportunity to, um, apply and get other jobs, more opportunities, and you travel opportunities, and even the opportunity to live abroad, right? Then what would you have?
I'd be happy. That'd make me happy. I
Okay.
don't know. What are we going for here?
Okay. So you want to be happy.
Sure, I'd like to enjoy what I do. I don't want to be the only person, I don't want to be the person that everybody comes to for everything, honestly. I mean, being a manager isn't necessarily that. I don't have anybody to delegate these things to right now.
Mm, okay. Yeah. We know you want to be happy and you don't feel as happy when people come to you for all the answers. And when you feel like I want to have somebody I can delegate things to and I don't have that.
I want to go on vacation and not come back to a dumpster fire. Yeah.
You want to come back to it. Not, I think everyone wants that. Everyone
Yeah.
wants you're not
Other people
alone.
have that. Why can't I?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. The reason why I asked these questions is I wanted to better understand ultimately what did you want to experience in your career, in your life as a result of having these external circumstances line up. And we all often feel that, if things outside of me were different, then I could have a different internal experience, right?
Let's see.
But
Where
then,
do you go with
but
that?
then
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, and then it becomes a conditional thing, right? And then it becomes like a carrot that you're chasing that you never quite get. You know what I
Well, I
mean?
still keep applying for other things, but I just feel like that being where I have been for
Mhm.
so long is kind of hemming me in. And I don't know, maybe you're right. Maybe it is time to just change tribes and go to another company, but that's uh that's a lot of insecurity and unknowns too.
I'm gonna say something that might come across a little spicy and maybe even immature, but I'm gonna say it anyways. Is it okay?
Sure.
Sometimes the most sinister ageism we encounter is the one we've internalized.
That's probably true.
Yeah? Like, what if you're not too old? What if you're not too young to take new risks, right? Beyond this particular program.
Mhm.
Because I know deep in your heart, you feel young. You want to be happy.
Oh, right. I don't remember how old I am actually most of the
Right.
time, so I
Yeah.
forget.
Yeah. Yeah. And I forget exactly what the I listened to so many things. I heard on a podcast that women above 50 is the fastest growing like subset of the labor pool,
I can believe that.
right? And like, so that means that women like you is a force in the labor force.
Unfortunately, it's an auxiliary force right now and where I work. So if it's aerospace, it's very engineering centered and a lot of, male dominated, I guess. There really aren't. I think my company might be better than most, but there really aren't a lot of the women that are working there are all in support roles, basically. There
Mm,
are very few engineers peppered here and there.
okay. And what role do you have?
I'm a support role. I'm a repair administrator.
Mhm. Okay. But you do know that you can go join a program, you can go learn new things, you can add new tools into your toolkit, and you could have a different kind of career.
That's where I'm trying to go.
Yeah.
I just finished a bachelor's degree in occupational health and safety. So I'm trying to kind of get myself, which is my role doesn't have anything to do with that right now, and kind of pivot to that. And that would also help give me that mobility that I wanted and the opportunity to see different parts of the business. because safety is everywhere, not just, with this particular engine or that particular engine. So yeah, that was kind of my thought with the degree program. And I figured that this other program would give me a much needed boost in that direction, but I am working on that otherwise
Good.
outside one
I'm
thing.
I love that you give yourself multiple options.
Mm,
I think that's fabulous. And I don't have a clear-cut answer. Like I said, there's no like silver bullet to these
mm,
things. But I kind of have this vision for you, which is that like everything that you have done as a support person in this particular company, like all the frustrations and the annoyances that you have patiently dealt with, and all the fires that you put out once you've come back from vacation, like none of it is going to waste. Because in the future, whatever new role that you embark on or you create for yourself, all of this is going to be a pool of wisdom from which you draw on. And people are going to benefit from that.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Now it's just a matter of making that happen.
Yeah. That's what I have for you.
Well, thank you.
And it's, yeah, cool. Thank you everyone for joining. Again, I'm just going to share, uh, I'm not here to sell anything, but if, you found this useful, I just ask that, you consider leaving a 5-star review on my Google profile, and it helps other people find the wealth of things that I offer for free. It just helps them find it a little bit more easily as well. So here's the link. And if you'd rather leave a review elsewhere on my LinkedIn or, just let me know. Happy to receive it. Thank you so much. Thank you, Juliana. Thank you, Janine. Thank you, Deborah. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Kariko. Thank you, Marissa. Thank you, Robin. Thank you, everyone, for participating in this call. I will put up the replay on YouTube and share that link. Have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you probably in a month or two. All right. Bye-bye.